right, welcome everyone. Our last pitch of the year. I can't believe it. It feels like just yesterday we started this whole crazy ride, and now you're all here for the last pitch. G, you're spotlighting me, yeah?
Yep, I'll spotlight you right now.
Awesome, thank you. So welcome, welcome. Hope everyone has had a fantastic end of year. I can't believe we're 3 weeks, 4 weeks out from the end. It's wild. And this is our ninth pitch day. I can't believe that. Nine pitches, which means over 50 companies have come through the pitch. We've actually gotten a lot of feedback that several of the companies have actually gotten funded from those of you in the room. So we love to hear that. And hundreds of you have been in attendance. This particular pitch, we had over 150 people sign up to be in this room. Now, we never know who's going to show up, of course, but it's like every time it gets better and better and better and better. So thank you for showing up, for all of our founders, all of our sponsors, everyone who shows up every single quarter to provide amazing feedback and apparently even some checks for these awesome founders. And today is no exception. We have six incredible founders. Well, actually, we have five incredible founders, and there will be one wild card. We got a lot of feedback that you all really enjoyed having that wild card in the room. So if any of you are founders and are interested in pitching live, our call out is to message Gigi, direct message her with your deck and tell her a little bit about what you are building, and she's going to pick someone at random to be the last pitcher in the room, which is pretty exciting. But we have some really great founders. I'm going to share that with you in a second. As people are joining, I'll just give those of you who may not know me a little bit of the spiel. I'm Laurel Mintz. I am the GP of Fabric VC. We are excited to be closing our Fund 1 at the end of this year and just announced our much larger vehicle for Fund 2, which will launch Q2 next year. So we'll be able to hopefully do some follow-on checks, do some bigger checks, and continue to support this incredible community. I'm felling. I just feel so lucky to be able to do this work. I mean, how lucky are we all to be in these rooms with these amazing founders? So if you are interested, the window is closing for Fabric. Please let us know if you'd like to have a conversation around becoming an LP, but that's not really why we're here today. We're here to support these founders. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and share with you a little bit about what today will look like. Let me go full screen here. So for those of you who have not joined today, it's 10 minutes of pitch, 10 minutes of live feedback. Everyone is welcome to provide that feedback in this room by raising their hand or unmuting, or you can just add your questions in the chat and I will call them out live. And that's why this format works so well. It's really an open format so that we can provide great feedback to these incredible founders. As you can see here, we also really want to encourage you to connect with each other. There have been so many incredible connection points, synergies for those of you that have been in this room outside of the pitch. So make sure you introduce yourself in the Zoom, add your LinkedIn, change your name, add your company so that we know who the heck we're talking to. And of course, Gigi will continue to add the open feedback form in the chat. We couldn't do this without our sponsors. We've got Bennett Thrasher. I don't know if anyone from that team is in the room. If you are, please raise your hand and I'll be happy to call on you. If not, happy to share with you a bit about who they are. They're a fabulous team out of Texas. They do fund admin, audit, accounting, all the numbers things that you really don't want to be doing. They've been a great sponsor and partner for us for a couple years now. All right, I think that we are ready to get into it as people are still joining. Any questions? Is everyone adding their LinkedIn? Are we excited? Last pitch of the year. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, just me. I'm over caffeinated apparently. Okay, let's get into it. So as I said, 10 minutes of pitch, 10 minutes of feedback. Everyone is open to being to providing that feedback. And then there's a link that Gigi adds so that you can do it on the side if you're shy, or you can obviously add a question and I'll call it out. Our first pitcher is Darcy Young. Darcy, I see you. Hello. Welcome to the Fabric Pitch Day. I'm going to hand it over to you, and Gigi will start the clock as soon as she unpins me and gives you the room. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Can you see my screen?
We can. You're good.
Great. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, so thank you for the opportunity. I am Darcy Young of Contested, where we provide reliable, low-lift access to new customers through athletes. So, over the last 10 years or so, anyone who's a founder or works in marketing will understand this. Marketing has shifted from what used to be a mass media approach into a bit more personalization. You could put some spend behind Meta, you could target exactly where your ads are going to, but that's all changing. And now consumers are expecting a very community first approach they want to feel individually connected to. So, it shifted from this mass media approach that used to work into community based. Today, in order to be successful and to scale up your venture, businesses need to access customers on an individual level. Flip side of that is they need to do it at scale. You can't just pick off one or two people. So they really need gateways into communities that their customers are already part of. Ads disrupt your flow when you're on social media. They feel intrusive, but getting in with communities is a way to access these customers. In order to get access to them, these businesses need trusted voices, consistent touch points. It's not just a one and done situation. Fresh content that evolves over time as well and stays up to date with trends and authentic influence. So not just another sort of hashtag ad kind of situation. Community-based marketing is the future, but it is very difficult to operationalize. I've already said some of the challenges that come with it. Creators are very hard to get in touch with and get a response from, and they aren't consistent in terms of standard or amount of replies. Even if you do get a response, there's no guarantee that they'll actually show up at the end of the day. The people who are suffering with these problems, the founders, marketing leaders of businesses, don't have the time or the expertise to actually manage it at scale. Even 10 creators starts to get overwhelming for them. They don't know who they're looking for or the right people to work with. And content needs to stay fresh. Consumers demand it. But it is draining to try and keep up with all the trends that are going on, all the seasonality, make your product hit in a way that feels natural, and not just like another brand pushing their product. So at Contested, we give founders and marketing leaders a scalable way that doesn't require a lot of effort to reach the communities where their customers actually are. So the way that we do this is through athletes. So we give them access to high trust athlete voices across the communities that actually shape purchasing behavior. Streamlined coordination means that there is no massive time sink or effort sink for these people so they can focus on growing their business and the things that they love to do. And it's actually consistent and reliable and repeatable. We know these athletes can get in with these audiences, and we know by coming to us, they can do this process over and over again, and have predictable costs and predictable results. The edge that we use, so we're not just another influencer platform, is actually athletes. The athletes below the top tier. So we're not talking about LeBron and Serena Williams here. We're talking about college athletes, semi-pros, the minor leagues, Olympians, Paralympians, have a massive lot of potential in this space and have previously not been used because agents have been the gatekeepers there. So they have trusted influence in multiple communities. They touch the campus if they're a college athlete, their teammates, the all the infrastructure around their sport, the local area, and then their fan base as well, which can be very broad, especially if they're online and have a good presence. They're highly trusted and credible. An athlete is not going to promote something that they wouldn't put into their body or use themselves. So there's that extra element of trust in it. And because they play sport, their content and storylines are evolving all the time. You don't need to worry about keeping content fresh. Like they can post about their training, their day in their life, their match scores, and it is constantly updating with them, and the fans love it. And they also deliver better behavior influence than creators. It's not just another, here's my product, tapping the nails kind of thing. Like these are things that they actually use, and people respect that and respond to it. So our platform, as I said, gives reliable low lift access to customers through athletes. We have a beta version that is out in the market. Customers are signing up to it. It's a very predictable, simple to use platform where you have everything you need in one place rather than managing multiple DMs, emails, working with agencies, some going direct. And all the results are housed there too. A brand will come to us and they provide a bit of information that forms the campaign brief. We then have an AI supported process that will rank what the brand has input, target audience, budget, goals, and then scan across our athlete database to come up with a top 10 list of the ones who are right. So it's not scrolling through Instagram trying to find the best ones. It's not scrolling through an influencer database through, one of 200 pages and you have to find the right ones. So we take a lot of that burden away and come up with the best ones with a contested ranked score. The athletes then create the content in a way that feels natural to them. The content goes live or they produce the product shots or whatever format the campaign is taking. And then we monitor the analytics for it as well. So the business knows what is working for them, which athletes are performing particularly well with their audience that they're looking for, which ones are converting the best, and then double down on those ones as well. So it starts with a broad reach, and then we focus on the ones who are delivering the best for them. We have businesses on our platform at the moment, which is super exciting as a founder, and the results kind of speak for themselves. So our athletes are delivering 2 to 3 times better engagement rates than creator benchmarks, and at about a sixth of the typical cost per view than you would get working with a nano or micro influencer. Across 4 of our athletes with live campaigns at the moment, we've delivered 31K views, which is great and not just a vanity metric because these brands are looking for reach as much as conversions. We've had about $42,000 of marketing spend through the platform, and here's a couple of our campaigns and the customers we've worked with. Led by athlete first founders. So me, I am an athlete myself, not at the elite level, but was the captain of my women's soccer team at college. And then I used to work at HSBC's group strategy team. My co-founder Blake, he's based in Chicago. He is a 3-time founder, actually ran one of the first NIL marketing campaigns when the rules changed. And then we're supported by some fantastic people. Tom Field, head of sports investment at Republic, also a CPG founder himself. And then Sam in New York, who works with scale up ventures. So he's almost helping us navigate the problems of the future. And then a venture studio, the 49, who provide resources like developers, designers when we need them. It's a huge opportunity. Sports market is huge, and as well as the creator market, as well as CPG spending about 50 billion in marketing spend that's shifting towards community. NIL is changing, meaning athletes are becoming more accessible than ever, but not their value is not being extracted well because, as I said, human agents are the ones who are gatekeeping that at the moment. Those agents are chasing the celebrities, so all of the value in the long tail of athletes is still locked without the tech. That's what we're building. We charge businesses a subscription fee, so rather than taking a huge cut from the athlete payments like agents do, we actually charge the businesses a fixed fee for what we provide. Starts off at around $50 per month for seeding only to try and an introductory offer for businesses who haven't worked with athletes before. And that scales up to a pro tier, about $150 per month for the full scale content creation, being on the platform, all the contracts. We also take a bit of commission revenue from any athlete sales that are generated and through TikTok Shop. So that provides a secondary revenue benefit. Later on, when we have a network of athletes on our platform, we can then look into audience insight data brokering to the big agencies and then commission payments on direct fan engagement and monetization there. And then there's a potential to do something in the gig work economy. Still figuring that out at the moment. How we're getting customers. So our go-to-market is focusing on college athletes because of the NIL changes and because of the 500,000 strong NCAA athletes who are digital native. They know how to create content. They know how to produce great stuff for brands. They're ready to go. And then focusing on challenger brands, so the founders, the marketing leaders at brands who are ready to scale and struggling to do it at the moment. Some key signals we look out for to reach our customers is, have they done a new product launch? Have they just had a funding round closed? Have they got a new marketing lead? Are they doing a retail expansion? All of those require a lot of scale and a lot of access into communities and is working fairly well with identifying who are the high intent customers who would use this product. I was doing a 3-year financial outlook and then we're in December, so it felt wrong to just do to the end of 27, but wrong to also not include December. So it's 4 years when we typically see a 3-year, but At the end of 2018, we'll have generated just over $3 million with a super lean team, which means that our margins are fairly high, and then hitting a 2 million EBITDA, raising a 900K safe, which will get us the next 18 months and achieve product market fit. Majority of that is going to the market and network build.
That's
And
time.
that's it.
Thank you. Well
Thank you.
done.
I'll stop sharing, but if anyone wants me to go back, I can flash them up again.
Perfect. So as I mentioned in the beginning, if you have questions, please drop them in the channel or raise your hand. This is about you guys providing feedback to Darcy or asking any clarifying questions. So Monica asks, who are your competitors? That was also one of my big questions because NIL is so hot right now. I mean, I get pitched this every other day. We don't really invest in that particular category, but it's a highly competitive market. So how are you ensuring differentiation and who are your competitors?
Yep, it's a great question. So our main competitors at the moment are a platform called Mogul. So they provide direct athlete and brand matching. The brand lists something that they want to do, the athletes sign up to take part in that. What we found is there's a lot of dead space in there. So there's a lot of businesses who've put a deal out there and not had anyone bite. So there'll be deals from like 2021 and when the NIL was first shaping up. But they're looking to innovate and keep going with the market. They are a fairly established business there at the moment. And then Open Doors is another one. It's more like a cameo for athletes, particularly in the sports space. Where we differentiate there, I think, is in our distribution. So we go and find brands at the right time. I think Open Doors are relying on athletes to distribute and promote themselves as well. But the athletes aren't really doing it. They're kind of waiting for businesses to come to them with hot deals already, rather than signing up to another platform where they're just going to sit and wait kind of thing, and they're not going to act like an agency. So I think where we differentiate ourselves is to the athletes, we act a bit like an agent on the commercial side only, so don't get involved in their playing contracts or anything. On the business side, we directly market to businesses, provide a bit of a concierge service to them, so it's not all self-serve, do it yourself. We actually help them with the campaign strategy, who the right athletes are, and things like that. So I think that's a key point of differentiation.
Kind of interesting because you kind of like just the agent model, but then you brought it back a little. So it's a bit muddled. But I think that the point here is that we want to make sure that you have a slide that covers the competitive set because to ignore that would just be, I mean, there's just so much happening in that space.
Yeah, thank you.
Alyssa, go ahead.
Hi, Darcy. I'm Elisa.
Lisa, sorry, I saw the picture and not the full name.
Yeah. Um,
Welcome.
so I feel like a piece of feedback and then a question. The feedback is I think you take a long time in the beginning to justify the influencer slash community market. And unless you're talking to an audience that you know doesn't know anything about it, I think all of that felt like I was talking about that 15, 20 years ago. Like that, I don't think when you got to the athlete thing, I was like, oh, now I'm going to start listening. This is what they're about. This is your market, not influencer marketing. So I think you just could save yourself a lot of time. And to the point about the market size, I therefore think you have to address the other side of that, which is how many people are we talking about who can be your influencers in this space? How big is the market of the influencers? And the competitors are other people who are trying to reach that particular segment of influencers. So I'd kind of flip that a little bit on its head because that's really where you're playing. And then I see David's question about your pricing. I thought your pricing sounded incredibly low for a whole campaign and program. You were going to do all the premium version. So I am curious about the same question David is asking about your pricing.
Elisa, you're doing my job for me. I love you. For those of you that don't know, Lisa, she is like an OG content queen, built a brand called Blog Her, so she knows the content space really well. So I would certainly listen to anything she has to say in this category. But Darcy, do you want to address that and then the pricing issue would be great.
Yeah, perfect. It's super helpful feedback. I think we have gone back and forth between starting almost with the athletes, and then it feels more about a sports story and an athlete, and then tucking in that brands are gonna be the ones providing athletes with the income. So flipped it to brands and the problem there. But I agree with you. I think influencer is a well-known part of the marketing world at the moment, and can definitely chop through a bunch of that as well. So no, I really appreciate that. Thank you, and we'll update how we talk about it.
Yeah,
In
I think,
terms of the
oh, pardon,
oh
if I could speak to that, I think it was like you were talking about personalization, community, influencer, content, and it could be done to at least this point really succinctly. You can address the
yep.
pricing because, again, we use these platforms like Aspire, and the pricing is significantly more than that. So if you could just address that as the last question, and we can move on.
Yes, absolutely. So the pricing, the rates that I said is just for our direct fees. So there are athlete direct fees that are paid directly to that. So if there's an athlete with um, a few thousand followers, they might charge around $500 for a video. So the brand will pay the subscription fees plus the direct fees on that. So then it might feel a bit closer to what you'd expect if you just received one invoice from an agency that covered all of those things. We started with the $50 per month product seeding as it felt like a fairly aggressively low rate to just get an introduction in there. But there's not a huge amount of results that you can deliver with that. So then put in the next tier of pricing to try and convey a bit of the value as well that we provide. But yeah, I will take your feedback that that feels low, and have a look at the competition out there.
Yeah, I might even do a competitive slide with the pricing models next to it, not just for yourself, but then outwardly facing. Thank you so
Yep.
much, Darcy. It's always hard to
Thank you.
be the very first person to pitch in a room like this, but you did a fantastic job. Very interesting platform. If you have any more feedback for Darcy, there is a link above David's comment. Please link there, add any more feedback. That's really why we're in the room. But Darcy, thank you for going first. And David's last little comment was, yeah, the price competition is unlikely on that one. We agree, but that might mean that you're pricing yourself too low, which is an issue for scalability. And certainly if you're going to raise venture dollars, as we want to see you being able to scale to that 100 million rate. So thank you so much, Darcy. All right, our next pitcher is Wendy Sloan. Wendy, are you in the room? Wendy.
Yes, I am. I'm just getting my things up. Give me just
Fabulous. Well, as you're getting your things up, as a reminder, we are going to call out one person to pitch live that didn't know that they were going to pitch before this very moment. So if you are a founder and you have a deck and you are interested in pitching, please message Gigi directly, and she's going to pick someone at random to be our last pitcher today, which you all shared with us was one of your like favorite things. You love knowing who's in the room, and then it's a really fun experience to like call someone out and see how they work on the fly, which I particularly love. All right. Wendy, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Just want to say I will come on camera for the comments. We're having storms here in Ohio. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to share about BTech. BTech's technology promotes rapid wound healing by repairing tissue, strengthening the skin, and helping to prevent infections along the way. I'd like to start out by sharing that our team is a strong team that has experience and expertise in clinical trials, as well as in building devices for wound care using light therapies. We also have market strategy expertise in being able to bring products to market as well. In addition to that, we have clinical trial expertise in our comparative medicine doc, Von Ohanian, who is not only a PhD working with our animal husbandry, but he also works with our clinical trial expertise. And we also have our analytical chemist, Noreen Surgeon, who has the expertise in light therapeutics. And then our wound care specialist with limb salvaging is Wendy Cole, and myself. I'm also the CEO and founder and inventor of our Halcyon Smart Patch. But before I begin, I really would like to share something personal how I got here with BTech and my team. My mom was a diabetic, and I saw her lose both of her legs to diabetic foot ulcers within a span of 3 years. And I felt the conventional therapies had failed her. And so that's what got me thinking about what else is out here that can help other patients not to have to suffer the loss that my mother did. And our solution was the Halcyon Smart Patch. The Halcyon Smart Patch can actually be placed anywhere on the body. It does not go onto the bed of the wound because our device is working from the perspective of increasing microcirculation simply by miniaturizing the effect that you would get from a low-level laser therapy. This is critical because up to 6 million patients per year just in the United States suffer a chronic non-healing wound. 15% of them will develop that wound eventually. That's 46 million. 40 to 60,000 of them annually suffer a diabetic amputation. This is a problem because the current trend in treating diabetic foot ulcers and any kind of wound actually is actually just from the diagnosis, some kind of offloading, dressing in gels, negative pressure, and eventually it devolves down into that amputation. Light therapy, we understand, can be used early, but not as early as our product, which can be used at a grade 0, which means the wound is still underneath the surface of the skin and you can just feel it. And so that early intervention is what could help to salvage and save limbs from going through an amputation. Right now, there's no clear path for preventing reoccurring wounds, even with things that are in the market like the handheld Dopplers. Those are working on a different wavelength of light, which is blue light mostly. So they're suitable for dealing with psoriasis, eczema, and vitiligo. They don't go beneath the surface of the skin. There's the electroceuticals, which are direct competitors. Those devices actually compete for the bed of the wound, which means that they cannot go beyond a grade 0 and is pushing it into a grade 1. They also have some small issues with comorbidities of people who may have a pacemaker and interfering with the electrical circuitry that is going through that current of that pacemaker. There's the Doppler ultrasound, which absolutely has no healing ability at all, but they're out there in the market and saying that they are actually able to help, but they don't close or heal wounds. The place that heals wounds are actually red, far infrared light therapies. So what we see is that the standard of care is falling short in achieving the necessary tissue strengthening to close the wound from the inside out. This is important because light is a proven therapy that actually does just that, close the wound from the inside out and not across the surface where we would see second skins. We would see those other electroceuticals and other products that are currently in the market space. Being able to stimulate extra nitric oxide, which occurs naturally in the body, helps to increase microcirculation, therefore helping to close the wound from the inside out, healing like the body wants to heal. This is key because far infrared light's mechanism of action helps to produce more growth factor production, cell proliferation, and extracellular matrix deposition, which are all needed in order to close a wound from the inside out. And this is done simply by increasing nitric oxide and being able to increase the microcirculation to close that wound expeditiously. BT's competitive landscape is growing. In fact, it's growing exponentially. But where we stand out is that we are a self-contained product. We don't use any batteries. We don't use any wires. We don't use any charges. And so we're able to close the wound efficiently. We're able to get in there and use the device for a 21-day application, which is really the remodeling phase of a wound. And so our competitive space, again, is growing exponentially, but they're not focused on skin strengthening, just closing across the surface. Our market is huge. There is a $12 billion TAM for the chronic global wound care market, of which BTech feels that we can capture $1.3 billion by 2034, based on our estimates and projected cost for the device. Right now, our revenue model projections are based on charging $160 per device. We will package them as 5 units and 5 treatments, which we're recommending. And then we're targeting at least 1,000 patients with just the diabetic foot ulcers in 20 high-volume wound care centers. We then will expand after 2027, where we're projecting a $16 million revenue to include other chronic wounds like non-healing wounds, burns, chemical burns, gunshot wounds, any kind of wound. Right now, we're poised for a rapid market entry through a two-phase approach. First, through partnerships with payees and wound care centers. Then we'll move into other our ancillary patient customers, such as podiatrists and other wound specialists who may have private offices, ending up with that patients and caregivers in big box stores being able to purchase the product at a CVS or Walmart or Walgreens. Next is our strategic partnerships. We've already gained interest from Convatec and 3M and being able to come in looking to be strategically acquired by them and being part of the next generation of wound care product development. Right now in our traction, we've already developed our MVP prototype and done some initial animal studies, which have indicated that we can develop the device, we can turn it on. We saw reepithelialization. Again, like I said, we've gotten interest from two of our major strategics. We've already completed our FDA pre-submission process. We already worked out our reimbursement pathway with CMS, so we know we can get reimbursed. And we are working on finalizing our patent right now. Along the way, we've taken time to work with some key accelerators with UMass and Impact in their programs with BARDA, and then invited back by Johnson and Johnson. Done some things with Harvard and the Catalyst program for medical device development, GBED and MedTech, and then with TechStars. And then we've also taken time to work with the Capital Female Founders Network in the past to ensure that our financial models were strong. Right now, we have a clear path on the market and return on investment. We've done all of the things the strategics are looking for strategic acquisition to come in as a preferred portfolio company. What we're working on to further solidify being selected for one of those companies is doing a pilot human study and then finalizing our IP. Our revenues model shows that we're on target for raising that $16 million that we're projecting by 2027. Right now, we're raising a $3 million ask in order to for a seed round in order to finalize our clinical trial prototypes, which we would use in the human studies, and then finish out our pivotal FDA study, and then finalize our FDA clearance over the next 12 to 16 months. I'm Wendy Sloan of BTech, and I thank you for the opportunity to share more about tech and our Halcyon Smart Patch. Thank you.
Well done with an extra minute and a half to go. And you even crushed it with the technical issues. I think we could mostly hear you, so that's good. If you want to join us, or you can be off camera since it seems like you're having some issues, but wow, that was quite a pitch. I think we've got some questions in the chat. Nancy asked, how many wound care facilities are there in the US? Like, what is the scale of that currently?
That's a good question. There's roughly 1,000, and they're mostly all
I'm
attached to
sorry for the
hospital
interruption, Wendy.
systems.
Gigi, can you
Um,
spotlight Wendy as well, please, so people can see her?
The settings won't let me, but I'm pin Wendy, so hopefully
Hey,
that
Wendy. Okay,
everybody.
perfect. Go ahead, Wendy. Continue. Sorry.
yeah, there's roughly 1,000 wound care centers across the United States, and they're all attached to hospital systems.
Okay, and then Beth just says, this is shockingly relevant. My stepfather needs this product stat. Thank you for creating. Nancy said, great pitch. I had a couple of feedback points, but if anyone else here live wants to raise their hand or ask any other questions, this is about you guys providing feedback to Wendy, but I can certainly run the room. Anyone else have any questions or feedback points that they would like to add? Okay. I thought that the pitch started out a lot slower than it could have. Like, your personal story is really strong, and you led with the background instead of the problem solution, which is typically how we like to see those pitches happen. So you were going into like this amazing background that your team has before we knew what the real, like, really big problem was. And then you went into the story narrative about your mom. I would maybe flip that. Elisa would probably agree with me on that one. And you spent an entire minute on the team. I think the team really speaks for themselves. I would maybe spend less time on the team, flip it to the personal story a bit more, and make sure that we're really clear how big that this problem is that you're solving. That said, like I said, I thought it started a little slow, and then you got stronger and stronger and stronger throughout the rest of the pitch. Um, I was really impressed with the $16 million by 2027, but you had those two slides far apart. So when you said that you were going to be at that 16 million number by 2027, I was like, and what are the numbers showing us to get there? And it was like 3 or 4 slides later. So I want to see that kind of back to back so I can understand and not question where those numbers came from. And you had the numbers there. They just weren't connected in that moment. Because that was my question. I was like, wow, it sounds like you're still in FDA approval. How are we talking about getting to that 16 million? But you clearly made that case very, very clearly. And you can talk to me if you have any other questions about what I'm providing in terms of just my litany of feedback. Anything so far, Wendy, does that all make sense?
No, I think it's excellent. Sometimes as a founder, you try to put slides where people tell you to put slides, and they don't intuitively feel right. I think that what you made comment to were more intuitive things that I have always felt myself, and I think I'm going to go back to that. So thank you.
Good. Well, that's the other thing is that, I always say opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them and very few are pretty, right? So like don't take everyone's opinion as fact. But as someone who is by nature a storyteller and sees a lot of these decks, that was just what felt organic to me. Um, I thought slide 9 was a bit overwhelming. It was very technical and very visually like aggressive. I understand the information that you were trying to get across in it, but I would say maybe make it 2 slides or just clean up the content on it a little bit because I didn't know where my eye was supposed to go, and there was so much data and information on it. Um, and then can you talk a little bit about the reimbursement pathway? I think that is incredibly impressive. And I'm not sure how many people really understand that how challenging that is. I would double down on that.
Yeah, so that's a good question because without having a clear reimbursement pathway, we would have been dead in the water. So
Exactly.
there's a device that had been out called the St. Augustine device, and it was pulled eventually from the FDA, but initially it got approval. So it's still out there. And when we went through the pre-sub, the FDA never pushed back on it. They were like, yeah, okay, we understand that because we've also already pre-approved a lot of the materials that you use to fabricate this device. So that was a big hurdle that we were able to get through with them, and that was amazing. What the benefit to me of going through the FDA roadmap and showing that there's a predicated device, that yes, we can get reimbursement from CMS for Medicare, Medicaid, is giving us opportunity, even during clinical trials, to become revenue generating. And
Yeah.
so that's key in order to help us reach that $3 million mark. So we're not saying, oh, to an investor, we need you to give us the full $3 million. This is what we've mapped out to reach our next milestone. But along the way, oh, we're going to be able to raise some of our own dollars. And
Yeah.
this is how we're going to be able to do it.
I thought that was incredibly impressive, as were the 8 accelerators that you've already been through. I mean, like I said, the slides just got stronger and stronger. The pitch just got stronger and stronger. I think there just needs to be a little bit of tightening up and then some double clicking on the things that are so impressive, like that reimbursement pathway. My last question is about patent timeline. Do we have any ideas on that? Because it could be a really, really long pathway to that.
Yeah, so we're working with McDermott, Will, and Emery over in Boston right now. And what we're doing is really kind of taking our time. And I know that kind of sounds crazy to people when you're talking about IP, but we don't want to double back on things. And so we had rushed initially to getting a provisional patent, the preliminary patent, rather, I'm sorry, and realized that we wanted to add some things to it. And one of them was to do an extended model on our beta prototype for looking at blood flow impediment. I'm not going to use all the technical terms.
Yeah,
um,
it's
and,
a
and,
very
and, yeah.
technical
And
software.
so to just look at blood flow impediments and how that will impact the application of the device in humans, and then doing a small human pilot. And that's where talking to the strategics really helped us to be able to understand that and then incorporate all of that into our full patent application. So to answer your question, we are targeting, we want to be finished this year with our patent process because we're in the middle of it and we have been, chugging along with it. And so we think that we can be finished hopefully by, I'm thinking like no later than the fourth quarter of 2026.
Amazing. Thank you. That was incredibly impressive, Wendy. Again, if you have any more feedback for Wendy, please click on the link and provide that. Wow, really great pitch.
Thank
Just a
you. I
couple tweaks
appreciate
there.
everyone. Thank you. I
Very, very well
appreciate
done.
everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. All right, moving right along and keeping us on time. We are at pitch 3, which is Nicole from Hero Generation. Hello, Nicole. Welcome.
Hey, hi everybody. All right, should I just jump right into
Take
it?
it away.
Let me share. Okay. All right, you all can see this now? Okay, so hi everyone. First, thank you, Laurel and Gigi, for creating this space to share. It's really, really beneficial to me already, so I really appreciate it. My name is Nicola Beckett. I'm the founder of Hero Generation, and we are a platform to support and empower family caregivers. So first, to just give some background on why I started Hero Generation, this is me in 2015 on the day I first brought home my daughter from the hospital. You may or may not be able to tell, but my dad was just 6 weeks away from losing a 15-year battle with cancer, one that I had supported him in as his caregiver since I was 19. And just a few years later, I became the primary caregiver to my mother, who battled a terminal lung disease. I was at every appointment, supporting complex medications, buying groceries, driving between my house and her house, all while working and raising two small children. My mom passed in 2021, and it was only then that I could really step back and look with clarity on the journey and the intense situation that family caregivers have to operate in without any support or help along the way. But I know that my story is not unique. I'm sure there are many people right now on this Zoom who are thinking of their own caregiving journey with their loved ones. In fact, there are 63 million Americans today who provide unpaid care as family caregivers. And that's nearly a 20% increase in just the last 5 years. And as you can imagine, it's only going to go up as the boomer generation enters into advanced age. As more care shifts home, everyday Americans are becoming a de facto healthcare workforce with no roadmap. They are missing up to 8 work days a year, spending 27 hours a week on their care for their loved one, and that's on top of their other responsibilities like work and family. Unfortunately, 93% say that they've had little to no training while delivering complex healthcare. Most are women, and many leave the workforce entirely, which contributes to our pay gap. We are relying on an untrained workforce to do essential healthcare work. And it's breaking families, it's breaking workplaces, and it's hurting health outcomes. But this also presents us a tremendous opportunity to solve a massive problem that families are begging for. The market is large, it's underserved, and it's growing fast. This is a $72 billion market across caregiver support, navigation, and coordination. The digital care navigation space alone is growing at a 15% CAGR, and yet caregivers still have fragmented tools, analog workflows, and zero integrated support. Hero Generation sits at the nexus of support for families, employers, and the healthcare system. And our team is the one to deliver the future of caregiving. We bring together lived experience and deep domain expertise. I am a 3-time founder with a 20+ year career in VC and startups and a former caregiver twice over. Our CTO, Dr. Roma Schusterman, has a PhD in AI and neuroscience and is published in the journal Nature for his work on safety and reliability in developing medical LLMs. Our co-founder, Dr. Shruti Roy, is a board-certified physician and caregiver and advises on product strategy. And Sarah Tilley is the senior vice president at ServiceNow and formerly at Disney and Warner Brothers HR exec, and she helps guide our enterprise outreach advisory. So, what is Hero Generation? We are a platform that brings together everything caregivers need into one place. We are an information vault to store critical information so that you no longer have to search through your emails, your notes, and your WhatsApp messages for doctor's office or notes, etc. We provide collaboration tools that help build to-do lists so you can offload tasks to family members who say they want to help, but they don't know how. We have a 24/7 AI caregiving assistant who provides answers and tailors information directly to your family situation, and community support to connect with others who understand the journey. We are the first platform built around the entire caregiving experience, not just a single area. We launched our MVP web platform in January to 200 users, and we've deeply surveyed those users to understand what their needs are, and we're now developing the next iteration of Hero Generation. Our mobile app. This is the next critical milestone for us, and this is the product that employers, hospitals, and caregivers are asking us for. The app provides real-time medical interpretation by downloading medical records from EMRs, so your MyCharts, your Epics, then provides personalized recommendations based on the data and creating intelligent task coordination for families. The biggest hurdle for family caregivers is that they don't know what they don't know. So a tip like reaching out to a nearby nonprofit that provides free respite care can mean spending less on hiring help or not missing a workday or taking time for themselves to avoid burnout. We will turn overwhelming medical support into simple, actionable steps caregivers can follow with confidence. With our app, Hero Generation becomes a daily use, high retention platform capable of serving millions. And this is exactly why we're raising now to accelerate development, get the app into caregivers' hands, and convert partner interest into revenue. Our goal, though, is to deliver measurable improvement across caregiver well-being, healthcare outcomes, and workforce stability, targeting real trackable impact. It's a 20% reduction in caregiver stress, a 40% improvement in care preparedness, and a 15% reduction in work absenteeism. When caregivers are supported, everybody wins: families, employers, and the healthcare system. Right now, this space is very fragmented. Most tools only do one or two things, but Hero Generation brings them all together. We have team collaboration, medical record integration, AI interpretation and guidance, community, and information storage. And we create network effects through shared care circles with family and friends and stored information to make Hero Generation highly sticky. So in the last year, we've done a lot with very little. We raised $155K. We use that to launch our MVP and a subscription platform. We have very early revenue. We've also secured partnerships with nonprofits and national agencies. But our next milestones are to develop and launch our mobile app, expand our enterprise partnerships, and jump into our B2B2C revenue model. So that includes our scalability through B2B2C. So our customers will be employers and nonprofits who buy bulk user seats for their employees and constituencies. We'll reach our customers through our founder and advisor-led leads, LinkedIn sales, benefits brokers, and industry events. We generate revenue through monthly per seat pricing, account setup fees, and added on enterprise features like admin dashboards, analytics, and integrations. As I mentioned, we have a partnership with Senior Helpers, which is a caregiver placement agency, and they offer Hero Generation accounts to their clients, their families. And partners like AMN Healthcare, which is a publicly traded company, said that Hero Generation is exactly what their employees and clients need, and they're waiting for our app to engage further. Our users have told us things like Hero Generation replaces that massive analog binder that they've been carrying to every appointment, which had too much information and not enough. So we know that we're already changing the way things are going for family caregivers. So we're now raising the rest of our $500,000 safe. We're raising $345K and has a $5 million valuation cap. This will fund our mobile app development, testing, and launch, and support our push into enterprise and B2B2C revenue within the next 6 to 9 months, and accelerates us toward product market fit and meaningful ARR. So just to conclude, we at Hero Generation really believe that no caregiver should walk this path alone. And we're building the platform that I desperately needed and so many families need today. So I hope you will join us in empowering the next generation of heroes. Thank you.
Well done. Well, first of all, I think your cadence, the way that you delivered was really beautiful and heartfelt. You're getting all kinds of claps in the room. I know so many of us have had this experience, unfortunately, as part of the sandwich generation. Wow, look, all the claps and hearts.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's exactly right.
It's very, very, very needed, obviously. All right. Any questions in the room for Nicole? Any questions in the room? You guys are the quietest audience we've ever had. Usually people are like raising their hands, unmuting. All right. We got one from Beth. Beth asks, are there any issues dealing with HIPAA?
Yes. So very good question. Oh, am I not? Sorry, my video was off. Oh, it says I'm unable to start my video. So sorry if you can't see me. Hopefully you can hear me.
Oh, Zoom and technology. So
okay, here we go. Start my video. Yes, absolutely. So we absolutely need to be HIPAA compliant in order to connect with the EMRs, and we're in the process of doing that. Our CTO, Dr. Schusterman, has had a long history of bringing devices or bringing products to the market that are HIPAA compliant, and we're in the process and should achieve that by end of January.
Amazing. Nancy asked, what pushback have you had from any enterprise HR departments, if any?
Yeah, that's a good question. They know that this is a problem, absolutely, for their employees. I think it was the stage of our product, really, that is our biggest hurdle. Our MVP is absolutely workable, but it needs a lot more work to it. And I think right now it's a reactive platform, so it requires a lot of input from the user, and that's why we're changing it to be a proactive platform across every level. And I would say that was our biggest hurdle. And then just the normal competition from benefits across the spectrum. We hear, our customers or our employees are asking for pet insurance. But the thing with caregiving is that it's a silent issue. A lot of people don't talk about it because it's personal. It's not something joyful. And so we're starting to see a lot more ERGs, so employee resource groups around caregiving, particularly for aging loved ones. And I think employer benefits managers are starting to see it as an issue that they need to tackle, particularly, unfortunately, because of the absenteeism. But so those are really the hurdles that we're trying to address.
Thank you. Casey, you have a question? Go ahead and unmute.
Hey gang, Nicole, great job. Fantastic. I really related. We went through this with my dad. Our family was caregiving for my dad, and my mom literally carried around a binder, and my brother and I had no access to the binder, which
Right.
I completely see the problem that you're solving. My question from an investor standpoint is, I see the model is that you're going for adoption through employers. But the market, I think there's a large part of market that are like retired people that are taking care of their spouse, or kids that don't have an employer, or that are outside of the employee W-2 market. Do you have a pathway to get the app in those folks' hands?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. And you're absolutely right. So I also mentioned that we're working with nonprofits who, for example, MS Society is someone we're closely talking to, who would buy bulk seating for their constituents. And so across the spectrum, we can hit different nonprofits that have a large caregiver. NAMI is another one, which is National Alliance on Mental Illness. They support people with mental health conditions, and they have a very large caregiver population that comes through their different networks and their different regions. And so we're talking regionally with those groups as well, so that they can provide it to theirs. So those are two ways eventually. And I actually formerly worked for the mayor of Los Angeles. And so I'm talking with different groups within the city of Los Angeles as well. We obviously, there's a cost to this. Right now it's a subscription price. We know that there are a lot of families that might not be able to afford that. So we also want to be able to eventually work with government and hospitals to be able to deliver it to their constituencies who may not be able to afford a monthly subscription or have that, capability. But so that is absolutely in the future plan.
Thank you. Elisa, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Going through this right now myself, and I kind of double click on what or co-sign on what Casey said about, I don't know if employers, like there's so many of us who don't have traditional employers, partly because we're spending so much time on the caregiving. I'm also wondering about for the people who live, like my mom does, in a facility of various kinds, from independent to assisted to memory care. Like if you want to go enterprise, if that's another level of enterprise, because I'm frustrated right now because I've been messaging two different people about a medication and pharmacy issue. And like, I really wish there was something I could just have a collaborative space with them that isn't email, text, or phone,
Yes.
that lives on, that is a historical record. So that was one thing, is that I kind of agree that having expanding your vision beyond employer,
absolutely,
as a way to go enterprise. And I also just want to co-sign what Beth said about integrating something. I have family member, I'm going to do all the health appointments. That's great. No problem. Then I don't want to be the one who has to do the entertaining and the, chit chatting. Like I can't do it all. So it's not just about the logistical
You're
stuff.
absolutely
like,
right.
who's going to help with the emotional stuff?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
think that's where you start to feel really overburdened. Like I'm also the only one who ever, I could go on. I'm going to stop
No,
there.
I look, I was there. I understand. So we actually right now on the platform, we do have, the biggest feature is our to-do list creation. We have a lot of different categories: housekeeping, personal time, meals, appointments, of course, and even things like just buying something off of Amazon. So a big burden is that usually there's one quarterback who's taking care of the loved one, and they're spending all their money buying the, things that always come up. We always say it's like death by 1,000 cuts, because it's all these things. So you can create your to-do list and you can assign it to Uncle Joe. My dad was one of 8. I had a huge family that wanted to help. It was never easy for me to pick up the phone and say like, hey, Uncle Joe, can you just come by and like fix the air conditioning that I just can't get to the house to do, right? It's just not that easy to do for some people. So by creating this list, which you can do right now, and you can assign it to them, they get the to do, and people are so grateful to be able to support this journey and be part of it. And so, we hope by having, that's what I mean by like the full spectrum of caregiving. Like you said, it's not just medical, it's everything around it. And that's why we've created this platform as expansive as possible to include exactly that scenario.
Hit quite a nerve for a lot of us in this room who happen to be in this generation.
Join our journey.
Running really low on time, but Lauren, if you want to ask one quick question, and then Nicole, there's a bunch of questions in the chat. If you wouldn't
Sure.
mind answering those live there, that would be really helpful. Lauren, go ahead real quick.
Okay, yeah, and I put it in the chat as well. So I used to be a co-founder in a digital end of life business, and one of the challenges we had was a lot of times, especially older people, they may be resistant to new tech, right? And you have multiple generations tapping in, right? So I'm curious if there's the human component of the onboarding, right? You happen to have, lots of siblings wanting to help. Some that's lucky, right? That's a kind of a bit of a champagne problem. A lot of people may not have that.
Oh no,
right?
I didn't have the siblings.
Yeah.
My dad did, but
right. So
but
like
yeah.
just getting people to even jump in when they do
Mhm.
really want to have that binder and they don't want to share it with somebody across the country. Like what type of onboarding may you have? And we can also talk offline because I have.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that in the chat if you want to.
Yeah, why don't we do that in the interest of time? But clearly, again, you struck a really hard nerve for most of us in this room. So very well done, Nicole.
Thank you.
You're exactly the kind of founder that Fabric wants to get behind because you're solving such big problems for so many different generations. And it's really, it's not gender specific. It's, completely across every issue that we have. I'm reeling right now. I have so many questions. We're going to talk again. Thank you so much. Answer the
Thank you,
questions in
everybody.
the
Thanks so
chat.
much.
And with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time because for those of you who know me, we do a kind of 7th inning stretch. So we are the halfway through. And so at this stage, we do a stretch break because I am a true believer that sitting is slowly killing us all. So whether you want to turn off your cameras because you don't want people to see your midriff, maybe like me, everybody up and please stretch out a little bit. You don't have to do it on camera if you don't want to, but I know that you have all been sitting for a long, long time today. I know I have. So just get up and stretch it out, shake it out. Just move a little bit, get some energy going as we go into the last half of the pitch and the last pitch of the season. All right, are we feeling energized and excited about the pitches? Thank you also for allowing me to be silly and stupid and all the things because the truth is that being a founder is really, really fucking hard for all of us. And you have to have a good time with it as well, right? We need to be a little playful and silly and have fun even when we're solving really big problems. So thank you again for all of you being in the room and staying in the room for the last 3 founders. And Gigi, have we picked our last founder?
Yes, we have Lauren Carter of Counted Care will be pitching our final spot today.
Amazing. Lauren, congratulations. That is a very coveted spot. And with that, we are going to move on to pitcher number 4, who is Susan Sly. Susan, are you in the room?
I am here, Laurel, and I'm going to be pitching with my co-founder, Dr. Mia Chorney.
Fabulous. Take it away.
All right. If we could get Mia on screen too, would be amazing. Gigi.
You can take me off, G. Are we
Mia,
good?
will you talk so I can find you in the room here?
Hello, good afternoon. I'm here.
Thank you. All right. There we go.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, thank you, Laurel and team. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces. My name is Susan Sly, and I am privileged to introduce the Pause Technologies. We are one of only 10 companies globally to be in this year's Mayo Clinic ASU MedTech Accelerator and the only female-founded company. I am going to pass it over to my friend and co-founder, Dr. Mia Chorney, to take it away.
All right, thank you, Susan. So I get to start off with what is the problem going on globally? So for us on the call, I want everyone to know that we have 60 million women in perimenopause and menopause. That is underrepresenting. Currently, we have 6,000 women entering the stage every day. And what's really important for everyone to know is 76% of women come in symptomatic. I see these women every single day in my practice. My background's women's cardiology, genetics, and I'm board certified in menopause. And what I like to say is we typically think it's hot flashes, night sweats, but it is way more than that. The silent but serious. This is what I see of most concern. We spend 40% of our life in this stage. Cardiovascular health, heart disease is the #1 cause of death of women globally. One woman drops dead every 80 seconds. And our loss of estrogen is a big contributor to cardiovascular disease. Osteoporosis. This stage is starting way before menopause. We know that it starts in perimenopause and is a massive concern for us throughout this entire lifespan that we're in. The rise of metabolic disease, diabetes. We know that cognitive Alzheimer's is 2/3 greater in women and men. And a really robust amount of research is going on right now due to our estrogen. Our brain is extremely estrogen rich. And sadly, the last box, less than 5% of women in our country are receiving guideline care of hormone and non-hormone therapy. So what is the financial impact? What is happening? Mayo did an incredible study, and 36.6 billion is lost in productivity. 50% of women describe that they do call in with presenteeism at work, so they're there, but they're not there. We know that 45% more is spent on healthcare. And so we're looking, that's equating to $4,600 per year that we could be focusing on. And also what's of great concern is 20% of women are considering leaving their jobs. And these are mid to senior level positions. Recruitment retention is massive and employees are looking for solutions because this is 120,000 person a year. So why are we at an inflection point right now? 16 states within the US do have pending bills within legislation. Rhode Island passed mandatory menopause support for employers in June of 2025. Global corporations are doing all of these pledges, and we know that this is a 1 trillion economic upside on this. So employers are seeking scalable, affordable, health benefits to be able to enact.
Thank you, Mia. And as a menopausal 53-year-old woman, I would like to introduce the Pause Technologies and how we're thinking about this. So we are a female-founded, physician-endorsed AI digital health solution. And how we begin to look at it is consumer first. So we're accessible, we're affordable, we're globally scalable as a SaaS company. And as a digital solution, we have a perimenopause and menopause stage calculator with a patent pending on that. We have biofeedback from wearables. We are wearable agnostic. So from Peloton to Oura Ring, Garmin, we can integrate all of them. And then our AI agent, Harmony, we just got the registered trademark on her. She's able to look at Laurel's data or Gigi's data and be able to create precision recommendations for lifestyle interventions based on that particular woman. We have symptom tracking and, of course, mindset and meditations. And so with Harmony, one of the things that's special about her is she can create correlations. So for example, I was chatting with Harmony about my mood and I was saying, hey, Harmony, what can you extrapolate from looking at that? And she said, well, Susan, actually, the notice that she has is that my mood has lately been going up. I've had a few days that have been down, and she can look at that with relation to my sleep, with relationship to my alcohol-free days, and relationship to my biometrics. And so we've already got great reviews. We are in flight, which is tremendous. And now we're building out our employer side. So in our employer dashboard, which we've built a prototype for, we have the wellness insights, and then we have sentiment analysis in real time. And I come from a background in computer vision. Last year, I was voted as one of the top women in the world in real-time AI. Under my tenure, I'm a second-time founder in my previous company. We did the largest deployment of computer vision AI at scale in the United States. So I come out of this world being able to pull in different sensors, IoT, and create real-time insights at enterprise. And so we have a subscription model. So consumers can go in the App Store and the Play Store now. They can get a 7-day free trial. And if they want to continue on, it's $9.99 a month or $69 for the year. And then at the employee level, we have plans to do $39 per employee and to be able to scale that. And I'll get into our customer pipeline in a moment. We've already been recognized in the media. We won the Johnson & Johnson Versili Hit Lab Challenge as the most innovative company. We will be at CES representing the city of Phoenix on the behest of Mayor Kate Gallego. We have been written up in Forbes and Yahoo and MarketWatch. We've already received, and we're so grateful, $325,000 in non-dilutive financial support. So from Microsoft and AWS Cloud Credits, HPE, and then partnering with companies such as Samsung. So we're at very early revenue. We've had some great traction, product market fit. And so we're at approximately $2,000 a month in MRR. The $25,000 in non-dilutive funding. We have current grant applications right now totaling $720,000 that we're waiting to hear on. Our 2026 revenue target is 1.6 million. And once we get to 7,500 monthly subscribers, we will be covering our burn. Our sales pipeline for the B2B side for employer benefits is 16 million currently, and we're working on expanding that each and every single day. And so you might be saying, well, what is the market opportunity? We're hearing a lot about menopause. This isn't just a topic of conversation. It is inevitable as a health condition for every woman. And once women enter menopause, they're in it for the rest of their lives. So of course, it's a very large TAM, 350 billion globally. And we do have plans to scale our digital platform globally. But when we look at our serviceable, obtainable market, Mia and I are focused on changing the lives of 14.7 million women. And that would give us 177 million in revenue. So you might be saying, well, Susan, okay, let's talk about that D2C side of your business. So we look at the Flow period tracking app, and they have currently 5 million monthly paid subscribers, and they have 70 million active subscribers on their freemium model. And then Clue, if you go to the far right, they have 1 million paid subscribers. And then Open Evidence was really interesting. They built a foundational GPT very much like Harmony, and it's used for providers to put in symptoms and ask questions, and they already have a $6 billion valuation. And kudos to them. And on the benefits side, adjacent benefits providers. So we have MIDI Health, which has humans in the loop. So it's not necessarily accessible and scalable globally. So you can call in, speak to a provider, and they do have, they're working with insurers, and they have a menopause first design, but they are not digital, and again, accessible. And then there's Maven, and then there's Peppy. So what is the path to 100 million in ARR? So for us, it is starting domestically in the US and Canada, then expanding globally. We are also in discussions with some sovereignties, including Qatar and various places in the UAE, to work alongside them. And do we have the leadership team that can execute? So as Dr. Chorney mentioned, she sees these clients every single day. Matt Rockwell, our fractional CTO, he formerly has come from Humana. He's had 4 startup exits. Nate Kelly, he was with me in my previous startup. And then we have an extensive board of medical advisors, Dr. Lisa Larkin, Dr. Jennifer Burke, Mitzi Crockover. They're incredible, incredible advisors. And lastly, we are raising 1.5 million. This will scale, take us to profitability, build out the dashboard that can be executed, and give us a buffer and a reserve. So thank you so much for your time, and we are ready for some questions and feedback.
Woo! I was like drinking from a fire hose of menopause. I love it. Or perimenopause as it relates to me, I guess I would say. Wow, incredible presentation. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat. Anyone want to raise your hands? I know we have quite a few doctors in the room, and including some of our board members who specifically play in this space. So if anyone has any questions, please add them in the chat and or raise your hand. I've got a lot of questions myself, if no one else has them. All right, starting to peter out at the end of the day. I get it. I thought the statistics were stunning. The presentation was beautifully done. I thought you really hammered in the financial impact, and that was so impressive to me. How did you decide to, or how did you get to those numbers? Like, where do those actually come from? Where are those stats from?
Absolutely, and thank you for the feedback. In terms of the financial numbers, I am an angel investor as well, and I always get really nervous when the founders don't talk about finances. So thank you so much for that. So with regard to the TAM or
The financial impact of those of us not in workforce or having issues with menopausal issues.
Yes, absolutely. So the Mayo Clinic did the most extensive study, and they found that the impact was $36 billion. And we're happy to send that over to you. And because we're blessed to be in the Mayo Clinic MedTech Accelerator, we do pull a lot of data from there. McKinsey is also studying women in the workforce in menopause. And to Dr. Chorney's point, we can send over that research as well. The presenteeism is significant, and the percentage of women that want to leave their jobs, that came from a study from Bank of America. And so when we're looking at the data, where Rhode Island was the first state to say menopause support in the workplace is mandatory. And when we consider that there are other states like California who are looking at similar legislation, we're in discussions with a major benefits provider to be their ground truth source of a menopause benefit. So pulling that in, another stat I'll give, and the providers know this, sadly, women in menopause in the United States have the highest suicide rate of all females.
Oh, wow.
And the highest divorce rate. And this
That makes sense.
Yes. And this is why, Laurel, our digital first strategy was so critical, because when it's 2 a.m. and a woman is having a hot flash, her partner doesn't get it. That's what Harmony is there for, that first intervention.
Love the name also. I'm glad that you guys have the trademark on that. Those financial numbers are absolutely staggering. Are there any guidelines or standards across menopausal care, perimenopausal care? I know you were talking about a lot of the legislation that's happening. Who's regulating that? Like, who's in charge of making sure that there's standardization across states?
Yeah, good question. So the Menopause Society is the North American Society for Canada and US. So patients will be receiving evidence-based care. Sadly, in our country, there's only one certified provider to every 30,000 women. So the average woman goes through 5 to 6 providers, and that's why women are not being prescribed as well correctly, because most people, current medicine, even OB/GYN, are only getting about 5 hours of training right now. So that's where we come in beautifully, is to provide. Harmony is trained and fed according to the Menopause Society guidelines. Mayo, we've fed her, we've trained her, all those sort of things, mental health, all that, critical pieces. Great question.
Shreya in the comments asked, is all the information private, even with the employee plan?
Yes. Yes. And we encourage when women come on the platform to create an avatar.
Mhm.
I'm a biracial woman. There's no data on women like me. I could have a whole conversation about the data desert. So when a woman comes on the platform, she can't even upload her photo. We automatically assign her a username. Because I came out of computer vision, we have long strings of alphanumeric codes. We don't actually know who the users are. If she chooses to use her first name, we don't even ask the day of birth. We are taking the most minimal amount of PII to give the maximal impact. And because I've already done this in a different vertical, and we did work with Mayo Clinic and VA in my previous company, pre-screening patients with computer vision as well, that is so important to us, Laurel. So yeah.
You. Just two more quick questions. One, did you say you were going to hit profitability by end of next year?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
You haven't even received full funding yet, and you're already going to hit. That's incredible. I just
That's
wanted to
why
call that out. That's wild.
That's
We
why we
very,
have a
very rarely
two-tier
see
model.
that.
That's why we have D2C and enterprise. And in the enterprise, in that sales pipeline, those are not just pie in the sky enterprises. In our data room, we have the pipeline. These are people we know at those companies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that was really my next and last question, was like the difference on the B2C versus B2B side, and how this funding is going to help you address both. I mean, those are two very different target audiences. You think that funding is going to be enough to be able to address both?
Yes, so there's a top secret for, especially if you're in LA. So this year there was a movie that came out called The M Factor, and it had 5 million downloads. Tamsin Fidel, Denise Pines are the producers. It was screened at Davos. M Factor 2.0 is coming out. It's on perimenopause. We're estimating 10 million downloads. And yours truly is the AI healthcare expert. And our product is going to be featured in the movie, and we paid $0 for it. And that comes out in the new year. And we already have a fast growing Facebook group. It's growing by 100 to 200 women every single day. Casey and I have known each other for a couple decades. I generated 2 billion in sales in CPG. I love to sell, bring it on. So we're getting to profitability. I estimate by the end of Q2 next year.
Incredible. Great presentation. My mom calls it facelift book, by the way, which I think is hilarious. Ladies, thank you so much. Killer presentation. We will be in touch for sure.
Thank you.
And yes, Casey sidelined with me and he was like, oh my God, I've been on stages with her for years. We love it when we have those synergies in rooms like this. That's really what it's all about. All right, plugging right along, Sam Smith, not the singer, sorry to disappoint, but you're not going to be disappointed by the product, I promise you. Same category, actually, which is really interesting since these are picked at random. But thank you so much. Sam, take it away.
No, happy to be here. Also very happy for Susan and Dr. Cherney to really pitch my beginning of my pitch. Luckily, we're taking different angles to how we're approaching the problem. So there's a bit of a diversity on how we might be able to tackle a problem that's so prevalent within our community and the community around the world. I am a great singer, but unless someone wants to Venmo me something, I will not be singing any of this pitch today. Very excited to connect. My name is Sam Smith. I am the co-founder and CEO of Amisa. We are an NIH-backed startup building the first AI-driven platform transforming how clinicians deliver menopause care. And you just heard a little bit right at the end, which was like perfect timing, about the pain that some of these clinicians are going through as far as lack of education, et cetera. But our mission is to close that care gap for the millions of women navigating menopause by enabling and upskilling clinicians with AI. I'm not going to woman-splain menopause to you, especially because we just heard it, and I feel like it's rude, and we were all listening to Susan and Dr. Chorney, so I'm not going to beat this horse too dead. But a real fact that I want us to focus on is the lack of menopause certified providers, like was mentioned, and the fact that OBs feel as though they are insufficiently trained to provide care. And when women think about who they are going to go to for care, that is who they think of first, especially when it is when you're thinking about menopause. Like was mentioned, on average, same stat, women have to see 5 providers or go to 5 different appointments to try to find effective care. And when they do find someone, when they're lucky enough to find someone who can support them, the providers have antiquated tools. They are unable to collect symptoms in a way that they can effectively understand how the symptoms change over time. So they can't adjust treatment, which is necessary, especially if a woman is dealing with multiple things in her life, like GLP-1s, a different type of medication, etc. So it typically takes about 3 to 6 months of trial and error care to find the right plan for that woman. And existingly, EHRs aren't even suited to enable the clinician to track that information. And that's really where we step in. AMISA is the first menopause platform that turns that symptom data into reimbursable AI-powered clinical decision-making support. Now, how that works, we take all of these data sources, create one clear view of exactly what is happening with that woman across her cycle, if she still has a cycle, or within a 30-day period, even before that woman walks in the door, so the clinician has the ability to see exactly what is going on with that patient. We structure that in a way that enables that clinician to not only evaluate and manage, providing proper coding, but helping them as well understand with AI how they might be able to make better medical management decisions based off of a CPT codes. That's really where we want to go in the future and how we're helping with folks right now, specifically focusing on how can we flag the risks that women are currently experiencing, enabling that clinician to see that right away before they walk in the door, creating greater efficiencies, greater conversations, and validating that woman's feelings before she even has the conversations, and then creating the documentation that supports and justifies the codes necessary to ensure that money is not left on the table when it comes to reimbursement. The big, what we're working on and where we want to go in the future is how can we leverage AI to take any specialist and inform them exactly on how they might be able to provide better menopausal care across the organization. And I'll show you how we're doing that. First, what folks are doing today, unless they have the pause, they're asking folks to journal. Basically, clinicians will say, can you please journal your feelings? We'll meet with you in the next 6 to 12 weeks. We'll see how things are going, relying on recall, but also making it very ineffective, especially if that clinician is unprepared on how they might be able to leverage that information to code accurately. So what we do, we have the ability to send a menopause rating scale, which is a reimbursable survey that creates a menopause rating score. Then they're fed directly into the AMISA app, saying that if you want to measure your symptoms over time and understand how that affects your score, especially if you've been given a care plan, you can do so with us. And that information is fed directly back to your clinician. The clinician receives through their EHR a PDF report highlighting those risks and recommendations on how they might want to be able to code, specifically ensuring that they are taking preventative actions as well as coding properly so they're not leaving money on the table. Clinics will see a return on investment of about 4x if they are coding properly, and that's what we provide to them. As far as the data resources that we are able to collect and organize within our application, it includes your popular wearables. Anyone who's been wearing your Oura Ring, your Whoop, your Garmin, your Apple Watch, that data can be backtracked, collected, and synthesized across one clear view that enables the clinician to look at it, understand it, and be able to act and have a conversation with their patients. We launched our soft launch with 5 practices in September. Currently have, now it's almost 4,000 symptoms logged. Symptoms you can expect like anxiety, sleep, symptoms as they go across the cycle, especially depending upon their medical history and their care plan. Simple symptoms as far as like how many times they wake up, or when they have their headaches, could be a simple change in dosage or the type of a different medication that might be able to affect that woman. And our clinicians are able to act on that more quickly and provide better care faster so women feel better. We're currently speaking with 5 different concierge practices who are interested in paid contracts starting in January. One is already signed, and we're also doing a pilot with Electra Health and getting into conversations with Advocate Health, which is the #5 hospital system in the United States. We're speaking with the Menopause Society currently in their initiative. Their Next Gen and Now initiative is training clinicians across the country and how we might be able to tie in their data to support those clinicians and be a top of funnel for their certification process. We've already received $3 million in NIH funding, working with Electra potentially on our next NIH grant, anticipating $3 to $6 million in non-dilutive funding in the next year to create and continue the research backbone that we were born on. And we're the team to do it. I'm a 3X founder. Building is in my blood. And my background is in sales and revenue generation. My co-founder, John, he actually started the company. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's and was discharged from the military. He was very interested in how he might be able to connect wearable data with researchers and became an NIH reviewer, figuring out ways in which he might be able to support scientists in researching dementias. And then our last co-founder is Christina. She exited from a women's health company, Iron Health, and is a leader in medtech and engineering and product building. Our advisors come from a range of different sources focusing on coding, AI, and research. And the way that we got down this path was one of our advisors, Dr. Rebecca Thurston. She highlighted to us that women are more likely going to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. They believe it's because of menopause. But of course, as everything in women's health, there is lack of research. So that is really how we got down this path and decided to support clinicians with the help of these awesome women that you see today. Now, as far as how we're positioning ourselves in the market, it is different for a few reasons. We are not focusing specifically on going in a B2C path and just focusing on supporting that patient. We are a SaaS company, AI platform, focusing on supporting the clinician by gathering the data and helping them. And we're not a hardware company. So we are a high margin, not a low margin clinic, and we don't provide clinical guidance. We simply provide the tools to understand what menopause is, log your symptoms, and give that to the clinician. We do anticipate going in a B2C path in the future. That's only after they've been invited to by a clinician to start logging their symptoms, or when they get into the app, finding a clinician in the future through the AMISA funnel, ensuring that there's always a clinician in the loop to help assess and treat the patient. And in the future, there will be AI on top of that to ensure that as those insights are coming in, we're helping to validate the feelings of those patients and provide them the proper guidance. As far as now and what clinicians are paying for today, currently they're paying an annual fee. One is a platform fee that's $99 a month, and the other is a $199 core fee that focuses on everything that we provided today. We do have a lower tier we're giving in the future, which includes just the menopause survey for those who want low fidelity data to just ensure they can provide reimbursable information. This enables us, though, providing both of those options, this survey as well as this frequent data gathering tool enables to provide for every type of woman, ensuring that we're providing one output that the clinician can use over time, no matter what the preference of the woman is, whether they just want to do once a month check-ins or there's someone who's super deeply embedded in their data and they love to share it. We're servicing all of those markets, providing the same view for that clinician to act on so they can see those trends over time. And our go-to-market positions us to scale. We're focusing first on concierge practices and telehealth. Like I mentioned, we already have traction with both and focusing on enterprise systems, expanding into employer pairs. Sorry if I'm running out of time. I can't see the clock.
You are out of time. If you could just close with what you're raising, that would be a great closer.
Perfect. Apologies. You'd think I would go faster when someone already explained menopause. We're raising $2 million safe, hoping to focus on the momentum of menopause care growth, focusing on growth too, because our NIH grant actually does not allow for sales and marketing. So everything to this point has been homegrown word of mouth.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, as a note, I think just less slides, give yourself a bit more time to kind of breathe into them. That's just a kind of a presence, and you have so much important data to share.
Yeah.
But obviously in 10 minutes, we can't get through it all. So it's a lot.
For sure.
Questions from the room? Anyone in the room? We've got so many experts. Please ask your questions. Otherwise, I will take it away. Y'all are, again, really quiet today. Usually everyone's hands are up all the time in this room. It's so
late.
I guess it's late and it's also December and everyone is still hungover from turkey.
Tired. Yeah.
So this is a clinician-focused platform, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I would lean in on that more in the very beginning because you lean into the issue of menopause. Certainly that's kind of issue one. But I was kind of confused a little bit about the consumer versus the clinician focus. You talk about the reimbursable pathways, and that was where it clicked for me, which was a little earlier in the presentation as well. But then I also wanted to understand, like, how problematic are those pathways currently? Like, are CPT codes always wrong in this count? Like, if you could just share with us a little bit more about how those current pathways exist.
Yeah, so we've interviewed over 100 doctors, researchers, and patients as we came up with our workflows and understanding of how we wanted to approach supporting women through menopause. Now, as far as the CPT codes are concerned, it's really the complexity and then the lack of historic care and education and how to apply it. So the way that we're leveraging the CPT codes, they've existed, they just haven't been leveraged in the appropriate way. So the way that we're suggesting how these E&M codes are used for MDM is simply not extending any of the time of the appointment or any level of work. It's just showcasing how they might apply it based off of the symptom data that's being input and showcasing the risk and preventative care measures that clinician might want to take.
Got it. I think that there's a more truncated way to have that come across to someone who's not an expert in the data of the clinician CPT codes and how those reimbursable pathways.
It's confusing. Yeah.
It's not that it's confusing, actually. It's just you're using so many ways to describe it that I can't bite onto the core purpose of it, which is that you're simplifying it so that they're getting reimbursed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love
that. Casey, go ahead.
Awesome. I've learned more about menopause in the last an hour than hours with friends. Sam, question for you. I'm coming at this from a pure investor standpoint.
Yeah.
My understanding is that what this does is it helps clinics and clinicians make more money in their practice by helping women. Okay. I deduced that not clearly from the pitch. If you had just said, our goal is to help these clinicians and clinics make, I think you said 4x, but I was deducing, I'm like, that's only $4,000 on a $1,000 deal. If as an investor, if you said to me, hey, listen, every clinic that we have this in makes on average $10,000 per client or whatever the number is.
Right.
It allows me to see the ease in which you will be able to get this in a clinician's office because you're solving one of their two problems. It's either save time or make more money. As an investor, that's an easy path. All the extra scientific data, as from an investor standpoint, doesn't mean anything to me. How do you help women solve a problem? You help the clinicians make more money. They're keeping more in there. We attract more clinicians into the marketplace, and we reduce the 30,000 to 20,000 or 10,000 or 5,000. So that's just my opinion from a pitch perspective, from ease.
No, that's great. A, I love the feedback, and B, I'll make sure to incorporate it. We're seeing on average, if they are able to reimburse appropriately, just 2 patients are able to pay for a MISA. So yeah, I can find better ways to ensure that folks can understand that.
And then maybe just a follow-up is get on the stages where the continuing education credits are happening and tell me that that's how we're getting to the mass market, rather, because to me, I don't know how you're getting to all these individual clinics. Whereas if you said, hey, we're sponsoring this event where we're on stage in front of 30, 50, 100, 400 people, would really help me as an investor.
I love it. Yeah, I didn't get into the go-to-market, but yes, you're literally nailing the Harvard conversation I'm having. So thank you very much, Casey. And I know we're at time, Laurel. Sorry.
We are at time. Thank you for being conscious of that. And thank you for that feedback, Casey. Sam, I think that the big takeaway here is you have it all together. It just needs to be streamlined a little bit so that you're not rushing through the pitch, because there are so many key nuggets of importance here that we missed because you were through the whole thing, right?
Right.
But obviously the platform is fantastic. You've already got great traction. Just slow it down, take out some of the data, talk to us like we're a 5-year-old, basically, and show us how we're going to make the money and how the clinicians are going to make the money, right?
I love it. Thank you for the feedback, and thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for showing up, Sam. Really appreciate it. And speaking of opportunity, the last pitcher of the day who didn't know that they were going to be pitching today is Lauren. Lauren, thank you so much for being a brave soul and showing up and getting the pitch opportunity. This is what we love.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This is such a great surprise. I am going to share my screen.
Take it away.
All right. $600 billion. That's the amount of unpaid labor family caregivers contribute to the US economy. And it's time we make their caregiving count. My name's Lauren Carter. I'm a fellow caregiver and the founder of Counted Care. So my journey started, oop, going too low. There we go. My journey started, I was a caregiver for my grandparents in the pandemic. And the other half of the story is my mom actually suffered a stroke while caring for my grandparents. So I was a MBA student at UCLA while this was all happening and really understood how financially taxing caregiving is. And I'm not the only one, as we've noticed earlier. But there are over 62 million caregivers in the United States, and they're spending a quarter of their income on out-of-pocket caregiving expenses. However, many of them are unaware that some of these expenses may qualify for a tax deduction. And that's why we're building Counted Care. It's a financial wellness platform for unpaid family caregivers to track qualifying medical and dental expenses, maximize their tax deductions via IRS Publication 502, and unlock local support from different resources that are publicly available, and including an AI chatbot to answer any questions they might have regarding the expenses. And why now? This room is aware caregiving is reaching a breaking point. We have an aging population. There's also policy momentum building for a Credit for Caring Act, which in our purposes could open up another stream of revenue. And there's a gap in the market in terms of awareness that these tax credits exist. And additionally, just general caregiver resources. And that's why we believe we're time to meet the moment. And when we look at the US health caregiving market, it's approaching $60 billion and is expected to grow. Strategically, we're first focused on making our impact in the state of California, and specifically for Alzheimer's and dementia caregivers who tend to have higher out-of-pocket caregiving expenses. And so when we look at the competitive set, most caregiver apps don't necessarily address caregiver finances, and then financial apps don't understand the nuances of caregiving. That's where Counted Care comes in to bridge both. And our business model. So right now we're focused on B2C subscriptions as we want to build traction, and then expanding to B2B partnerships with hospitals, universities, and other organizations. And down the line, we plan to expand to freemium plus ad revenue, including taking a small percent of savings similar to TurboTax, and then incorporating a shop based off of some of the commonly purchased items that we see users accounting for. And so right now we're in our beta test and we're testing with over 20 users. And in terms of market validation, we did a survey early on and found most of the people we surveyed, almost 87%, would use an expense tracking app similar to Counted Care. And we have committed channel partners such as a Southern California home care agency and UCLA's Bruins with Dependents. And we're also partnering with a caregiver influencer who has over 800,000 followers across platforms. And so the team right now is myself. I'm supported informally by a group of professionals such as CPAs, nurses. But me personally, I am a recent grad from UCLA Anderson. I worked at CVS Health, also went to UC Irvine and worked there as well. I'm an active member of the faith-based community who has a lot of caregivers within that community. And I'm also a volunteer with Pomona Valley Hospital. And so right now we're focused on finishing up our beta test by the end of this year, and then building out our mobile app next Q1 of next year. And then we're planning to reach profitability by 2027 based off of our financial projections, and then scale to go nationally in 2028. So expanding to all states as they have different tax models there. At the state level, they have different rules regarding medical and dental expenses, and plan to be category leaders by 2029. And so right now we're raising a 750,000 pre-seed, and that would go towards the build out of the app, growing our team, and then marketing expenses as it is a B2C model initially. And so as we know, caregiving is impacting so many people, and we want to invite you to be a part of the solution. And so that way together we can make caregiving count. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lauren. I don't know if we've ever had such thematics going through the pitch ever in the last 9 pitches that we've had. It's been kind of wild.
Yeah.
So if you could unshare your screen so we can
Okay.
let you, please. Perfect. Elisa, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. And I confess I had never thought about this.
Same.
So I have a question about the in your B2C model, you're helping people account for this. Do you know anything about your target users as far as how many of them do a very simple file very simply, except they have this expense that they have not been doing anything with versus how many already may itemize? I mean, I would assume that some of these deductions require you to itemize
Yes.
versus the standard deduction. So do you have any breakdown at all about, because there's got to be some arbitrage there between where it makes it worth it for someone to itemize and therefore have a more complicated tax thing. And then can you partner with tax providers to like kind of make it a one-stop shop for that if the point is that these could be deductions?
Yeah, so I'll answer that in 2 parts. So in terms of whether or not it's worth it, that's something we're trying to account for earlier on. So for example, I think it was 2024, going into 2025, the standard deduction is $15,000. And you can only deduct anything in excess of 7.5% of your income. And so this publication 502 only applies if you're itemizing. So there is some like work that you have to do to understand whether it's actually worth it. But if you have, say, a really expensive surgery and then you're exceeding that $15,000 and then you don't know that, hey, I should itemize versus taking the standard deduction, that's a really big opportunity that we want to make sure people are aware of. So even if you do end up taking the standard deduction, we want to make sure people are at least itemizing all of these caregiving expenses. So that way they at least have the option and are informed. That way that at the end of the year, they're making the most on their tax deductions. And in terms of partnerships with like tax firms, that is another area we're doing research on in terms of how can we make this more easier to track. But like the big picture goal is really integrating with these payment systems for like hospitals or like a CVS, where people do have a lot of qualifying expenses. And then they're made aware, hey, this is tax deductible. And then the onus isn't on the caregiver to say, oh, I don't know if I should be saving this or see. Instead, it's like filtering into our system.
And I also see a whole other thing where you connect with family members. So when I pay X amount without thinking about it, that I can actually send a Venmo request or whatever to my siblings and say, hey, let's all share in this, hey, or add it up or whatever. So that's like a whole other thing I could see. But anyway, thank you. Really interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of tentacles here. It's very, very early days, as you well know, since you're in pre-seed. But I'm just out of curiosity to know more about your story. So it sounds like you came from the care side. How did you learn about this tax? Like, where did this actually come from in terms of a concept?
Yeah, so I had an advisor who had built a business around tax credits for businesses. And I was like, well, I wonder if there's like any tax opportunities for like family caregivers. And so that's when I came across like itemizing your medical and dental expenses. And then I saw the list of everything that you can itemize. And I'm like, Wow, a lot of people don't know this because like even like home upgrades. So if you're making home upgrades that cost you like a few $1,000s, like these things add up. And especially I think also people who are maybe more prone to itemizing if you like contribute to charity and things of that nature. So these things just add up quicker than you realize. So yeah, that's how I came across it.
I mean, I would maybe just one or two sentences because I didn't make the connection of like, okay, I understand that you have this caregiver background, but I don't understand how you made the connection on the tax side. It's fascinating. As soon as you said that, I thought you were going down the same path as the earlier picture, and then you were like talking about the financial side, and I was like, wow, I didn't even know that that was an opportunity. So the fact that you've uncovered that is pretty remarkable. So I would just maybe click on that a little bit more in the
Okay.
pitch. And you cover it. I mean, you're like fintech, health tech, age tech. You're like all the categories. It's absolutely fascinating. Um, I don't have too many other questions. I think we're just missing a little bit of the how, because you said, for example, like you're going to be the category leader. I want to know a little bit more about how you plan to do that. There was just a couple
Okay.
of areas. I mean, and this is your early days, so this will evolve and be polished more and more. But obviously, you didn't know you're pitching today either, but it's a really strong start. I'd also like to see a bit more of the financial modeling to that profitability point, as you mentioned. I'm sure you have that those slides somewhere, but maybe just one slide on a little bit of that timeline and horizon.
Okay.
But other than that, I thought it was, oh, the last question I had, you put the freemium piece in the middle of your funnel, which is usually at the top of a funnel from a marketing perspective. Can you speak a little bit to why it was in the middle? Was just curious.
Yes, because I combined that with the ad revenue. So since I don't have like direct ad partners yet, that's why I had it in the middle of the funnel. But to your point, it does logically
It
make
might
more
be
sense
two separate funnels. You see what I'm saying?
for
Like it might
sure.
be because it was a timing piece, right? You were saying like we're going to be doing this up until we hit X, and then we're going to launch into the ad revenue and the freemium model. So it might be that it's actually I'm not clear 100% on that, but it might be two funnels, not just that one.
Okay,
That makes
makes
sense.
sense.
Fantastic job. Any other questions from the room? I know it's a end of day last pitch, always the hardest place to be, Lauren, but you showed up and you showed out, and what a great concept. Like my jaw dropped. I don't know if you saw, but like I was like, how do we not know that this is a thing? Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. What a great concept. So thank you so much for being our last pitcher and for volunteering. And with that, I'm going to say congratulations to all the pitchers. I am early, which never happens. I'm going to share our next pitch day, which is coming up in February. I can't believe we're already talking about 2026, but it is upon us. So please go ahead and scan for our next virtual pitch. As you can see, we have just incredible founders. Every time they blow my mind. I feel, again, so lucky to be able to do this work and to be able to share it with all of you. And that was the real purpose behind all of this was making sure that even though, as you all know, we can't write checks to everyone, maybe there's someone else in this room that can do so. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a fabulous holiday season. And as you know, my closing is always go forth, be fabulous, and make change possible. Thank you all so very much. Happy holidays.